All right, howdy everyone. The time is 2:36 p.m. and it is November 6th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. We are talking about cooler weather on the way for much of the area, and it's going to be a lot cooler, much cooler as a matter of fact. So we're going to get into all of that, the cooler weather that's coming our way, and then also the potential for another tropical cyclone across the Florida Peninsula. Looks like we're going to get another one, and it is starting to develop off east of the Caribbean, and it's going to push its way into that area. So we're going to talk about that, and we are also going to talk about the potential for severe weather across the upper Midwest once again with a new system that's going to be moving through that could potentially impact our area. So we will get to all of that. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I have a snow background because, well, snow may come later on in association with this cold weather that is going to be on the way. So we will get into all that as well. All right, let's delve right into what is going on with the weather. So this is the current setup that we've had. We just had that cold front pass through. We had very windy conditions across much of the Great Lakes region. I understand about 116,000 people across the state of Michigan lost power, and I'm assuming there will be some numbers in Indiana and Ohio as well. So cold fronts passing through, freezing conditions continuing today. It is going to start to warm up though once again as we get into later on in the midweek. So still good opportunities to do some leaf raking, particularly tomorrow and Tuesday as those winds begin to finally die down. But right now we are dealing with a little bit of a breeze, and we've got another storm system to talk about coming in on Wednesday and on Thursday that is going to show up on this model as well. This right here is the GFS model. We're going to start off by looking at that, and then we'll compare it to the Euro model as we approach that point. Okay, so currently you got snow up in Canada associated once again with that low. Those lows moving through that series of lows. This low is associated with that cold front that brought severe weather to Texas. You probably saw some videos of that. And then this low is just on its own, not really associated with that low that already moved through. You begin to see this cooler air mass begin to start to dip down towards parts of the Great Lakes. It is not going to make it down into the lower Michigan. Upper Michigan is going to be in that cooler air mass, but it's not going to make it into parts of lower Michigan. You're going to really see a ridge start to rebuild across parts of the western continental United States. And then off down here to the southeast, you can see this low pressure system starting to deepen. We've got hurricane potential with this little storm here. And I think it's going to be likely going to be hitting parts of Florida. That's what the current forecast shows. And parts of Florida are going to see another hurricane move through parts of the area. So we have this ridge building in across parts of the central continental United States. You can see that. And it's going to welcome in another system, another low. You can see that low pressure system starting to build. It's going to dump a lot of snow across the Rocky Mountain areas. But that low is what's going to fuel the potential for another severe event across the upper Midwest. You can see a winter storm kind of starts to materialize across parts of the Dakotas. But this low will also bring in another threat for some stronger thunderstorms once it hits that moist air mass on the eastern part of the United States. You can see that hurricane, the track of the hurricane. Let's backtrack a little bit. You can see it's going to deepen, and it's going to kind of hit parts of Miami, parts of the eastern west, parts of Palm Beach. That area is under the gun for this hurricane as it moves through. Uncertain about the current severity of the hurricane, but it looks like it could reach at least a Category 1 intensity. So here, as we pause it, you can see a line of some thunderstorms getting developed associated with this on Friday, November 11th. So really not much activity going on until later on in the week, according to what the models are showing. You can see there is good low-level wind shear with this particular event. Your SRH values, once again, are in the 300s. So, again, a setup for storms potentially, but again, we can't make a full determination on that just yet. But it does show that there is going to be possibly some severe potential as this system moves on the ridge, the area between this ridge and trough right here. Lots of snow for parts of the north and even for parts of the upper peninsula as well. Upper peninsula looks like, though, we'll mainly see just rainfall potential, despite the fact that there is dendritic growth zone kind of evident within this particular setup here. So that's what we're watching. Upcoming later on in the week, we have potential for a system to move through and this hurricane that is likely to impact parts of Florida. Right now, the National Hurricane Center says there's a greater than 60% chance of this thing developing into a tropical system and potentially a hurricane if the strength tends to show up that way. But Again, this is very late in the season for hurricanes, so any hurricane develops from this is likely to be on the weaker side. But you can see a well-defined cold front kind of showing up with this low pressure system. So once that rainfall moves through parts of Michigan, you can see a very moist atmosphere begins to develop across the eastern Appalachians and then these general areas here. It does appear that there will be a lot of low-level wind shear. Not really sure if there's going to be anything severe with this, but there will be severe weather connected with this hurricane, likely a few tornadoes with that hurricane as it moves through. It's not really going to impact much of the Great Lakes region unless you live in far eastern Ohio. So on the backside of this low pressure system moving through, there's likely going to be, once again, some strong winds. Not sure exactly how strong the winds are, but that will show up later on. On the backside, though, it is likely to cool down, and it is likely that snow is going to enter the forecast, particularly for areas close to the lake. So areas such as Michigan, lake effect snow is likely on the menu on Sunday, the next Sunday, with this cooler air mass moving in. Lake effect snow does appear to be a probable scenario behind that low pressure system, especially according to what the GFS model says. Now, as we get into the long range, it does show snow as low as Tennessee, Kentucky. I would wait to make that particular judgment, but it does show that a much cooler air mass is going to settle in after November 13th. So it's something that we're going to have to get used to as that starts to progress into the area. All right, let's compare it to the ECMWF model, Euro model here. This is farther out, so let's actually look at a closer range model. So again, starting with the present, you got that low in the up top. It does not really show as significant of a potential for that hurricane to develop as the GFS does, but the National Hurricane Center is pointing to this thing still developing into a hurricane down here in the southeastern United States or on the sea coastline. You can still see that low is still there though, and it does show some convective development associated with that ridge building farther up into Minnesota, Wisconsin, those general areas. And it does show that low still trucking into parts of Florida as well. But again, similar setup as the GFS. You've got that low pressure system bringing a winter storm and then rainfall to parts of Mackinac, with the exception of the fact that there is going to be a farther north placement of this storm, and it's going to be earlier, even as early as Thursday afternoon. So this ECMWF model is actually showing it as a faster mode, and it is showing greater tornado potential with it in parts of the Plains states, Minnesota. So Minnesota, you might be under the threat for some severe weather with snow on the backside as well. Then you get a sounding later on. Still lots of low-level wind shear and still some favorable dynamics for some thunderstorms. Not really sure about the severity of those storms though as we get into later on Friday night. So Friday night, this storm system will dissipate, maybe bring some rainfall and some wind with it to parts of Michigan, but Indiana and Ohio looks like you guys are good in regards to this particular event here. Now, I do want to stop it here for a minute on this particular stop and see what the ECMWF model is forecasting for the potential for some wind. Okay, so we're going to stop here and let's look at the wind gusts, 6-hour max wind gusts. Now it's showing on the back side you're going to get wind gusts of around 50 to 60 miles an hour. If we progress it farther, it does show wind gusts of 40 miles an hour associated with this. So this low pressure system is likely going to bring some wind on the back side, and that's also going to welcome the much cooler air and the potential for some lake effect snow as well. See, the ECMWF model, once again, does show some potential for some lake effect snow, not as much potential as the other models do, but you do see those little flakes of blue on the models here. So if you get a sounding in this general area, you can see the dendritic growth zone is present, but it really shows that the dew point's not really matching up with the temperature. So it doesn't look like as great of a potential according to the Euro model. But as we get into the 13th, Sunday the 13th, once again, I do see that really start to come closer together. You can see as temperature drops, dew point meets together. Then we get the greater potential for some snow at the lower levels, and about 6,000 feet difference of snow, which means some heavy snow might fit into those little bands as they start to come together Sunday morning and begin to dissipate as it warms up during the day on Sunday though as well. Temperatures will rise a little bit above freezing, it appears, on Sunday, but it is most definitely going to be a lot colder. So let's actually look. Oh, this is the snow accumulation map. Didn't mean to look at this just yet. But ECMWF does show the potential for snow accumulations of about 2 inches across much of the southwestern southwestern Michigan, I would say. And then even parts of northern Indiana could see a trace of snow. And Cleveland areas could see up to 4 inches of snow. Upper Peninsula, once again, under the gun for some higher snow totals, but that's typical during this time of the year. And then here's the graphic I want to show you, the wind chill potential for parts of the Great Lakes. So let's zoom in on our area, regional map of the Midwestern U.S. Again, you're currently seeing the latest run based on when that cold front moved through. So this is in the morning today. So this is Sunday morning. Temperatures did warm up into the 60s today. Looking at my temperature sensor, it's 64 degrees. You can see that cold front beginning to start to move in, but cooler air, that is going to kind of settle farther north with the potential for maybe some freezing overnight on a couple of these nights coming up. But then you can see back here that cold front that's going to welcome some of those tornado producing storms potentially in parts of Iowa. Again, we're not sure about all of the details, but that's what that's showing on this model. But you see that cold front, it really just shoots its way across the plains and then into our area. Really cools things down really quick by Saturday night into Sunday. So Sunday night or Saturday evening, you could see wind chills are going to drop significantly into the teens for parts of Indiana and Ohio, and then in the 20s where that lake breeze starts to warm things up a little bit across parts of lower Michigan. So cooling down quite a bit. You can see why that snow potential is there. So it is going to be rather cold Sunday into Monday, and then it looks like we may see some warming up. But again, later on into Wednesday the 16th, we do see single-digit wind chills start to show themselves in parts of the plains west of the Great Lakes. So cooler weather is on its way, needless to say, and it is going to be much cooler later on in the month of November. It's all the Climate Prediction Center is even showing the potential for that. So it's looking like it's going to be a lot cooler after November 13th. So enjoy this warm weather. Get those leaves raked because after this it's going to be too cold, or it is going to be cold, and people probably won't want to be outside during this cold weather. So make sure to do that, and hopefully this video was helpful to you in getting that information out to you. Make sure to subscribe and get connected with all of the information that we have. You can access our website on our channel's description. Make sure that you do that, and I will see you all next time.